I'm Candace Chapman. I am one of the leaders on the Clinical Learning and Knowledge Services team. And I am very grateful to be joining today from my home in the Comox Valley on the traditional lands of the Comox First Nations people. And I am grateful every day for my continued opportunity to learn more about the people who have been here since time immemorial and their connection to these lands and how it has evolved through time and the ways in which our community is trying to come together in really meaningful ways on the path to reconciliation. So feel free to pop in the chat where you're joining us from today. I know that we hail from all corners of the island here. So thanks again for taking the time to join us today. I know there's so many things going on right now. I'm kind of shocked that anybody made time to come, so thank you. But I'm really pleased and excited to be sharing some updates today regarding some work that has been underway and will be shared out with the organization soon for clinical education optimization. So we will dive right in. So why are we here today? What spurred all of this on is one of the initiatives that was identified through the Health Human Resources Sustainability work was the opportunity to enhance our clinical educator roles and role clarity in the organization and ensure that we're supporting their development in their clinical educator role. So work was undertaken, led by Joanne McLaren, to do a really fulsome review with the support of an external consultant, looking at what's going on in our organization in terms of clinical education support and structures and processes and infrastructure and all the details. And they put together a recommendations report that highlighted several different opportunities for our organization to explore. Sorry about that. A little whooping in the background. And a couple of those opportunities were related to the development support for clinical educators. And that was work that was tasked to the Clinical Learning and Knowledge Services team to carry forward as a discrete piece of project work. So that led us to the Clinical Educator Development Strategy that I'm going to share some updates on about today. And what we have done so far in that work, like I said, we formed a project team with support from EPMO. We did some really important foundational work at the end of last year to identify what are the skills and abilities that we're expecting of people in educator roles in our organization. And we came up with the Universal Clinical Educator Competencies List, which is broadly applicable across all the different healthcare professions who have educator type roles. Once we had a really good sense of what is it that we're expecting for skills for those folks, we investigated a wide variety of different opportunities and approaches for how to support educators in developing those skills and put forward a briefing note to our executive on our recommended course of action. When we had that recommendation approved, we moved forward, and one of the elements of that recommendation we are really excited to be launching in the near future, which is the onboarding program. And I will share more about that in just a moment. So I want to pause for a second because I keep using the term clinical educators, and I want to ensure that folks have a good sense of who I'm talking about here. In our organization, we have at least 29 different job descriptions that we're using currently for folks across the nursing and allied health professions, for job descriptions that have, as part of their primary focus, supporting our clinical care teams' ongoing practice and learning in the workplace. So I use clinical educators as an umbrella term to capture that wide variety of folks that we have in our decentralized education model in Island Health, who we rely on for that support. So I hope I'm not um, making anybody feel excluded by use of that term. So some of the hopes and dreams of the clinical educator development strategy work in terms of what are we hoping to shift and change is we really want to ensure that our clinical educators are confident, capable, and well connected in the work that they're doing to support their clinical learning teams. We hope that there is an increase in clarity of what the educator role can and should be in our organization, the unique roles that they play and the unique skills that they need for those roles. Um, we hope to improve the experience of the clinical educators in that role and that they feel well supported and that they want to continue on um, providing that amazing support for our organization. And we hope that through this new project that we are launching, that we get really great engagement and see some positive results with our clinical educators. So what are those results? We sort of looked at it in a holistic sense of all the different people that we think may be impacted by this work, if it is as effective as we hope it to be. Not only for the educators, but for our care teams and the support that they'll feel and see from their educators. Hopefully, our leaders will experience some improvement as well in terms of clarity of expectations around what educators can be doing to support their teams. The experience of students and new entrants joining our teams will hopefully be enhanced. And also looking out at our corporate partners, we're really hoping to see that through our onboarding program, our educators have a better sense of who's who in the Island Health Zoo to help them out and who they should be connecting with in the course of their work. So a little bit about what our strategy is looking like in the big picture sense moving forward. We are bringing in a structured development program for educators, which will be a supplement to our current offerings, so that we're able to ensure that there is equitable opportunity for educators to develop and sustain the skills that we've identified as necessary for their role. And there's clarity on that path and opportunity for anybody that is in that educator role. So in our recommendation, we have put forward the plan to have a standardized onboarding program that will be offered in supplement to the local care teams onboarding, and to bring in the Educator Pathway program, which has been in place with a number of our partners across the province in the other health organizations. They have about 20 years of experience running this pathway program and have had good success. And we're working on a strategy to bring in that program and modify it to meet the needs of our Island Health community. So I am really excited to share what's coming next for that work, what you folks can expect to see. Towards the end of next month, June, we will be rolling out a new self-assessment tool for clinical educators, and that's going to serve different purposes. It's going to be through REDCap and will be an opportunity for our educator community to reflect on where they are personally at in their skills and abilities in comparison to those universal competencies. And we're going to use that as an opportunity to track progress over time for the individuals themselves to reflect on and see their own progress, but also it'll provide us with some really good insights on overall impact of the program as we monitor that change through the course of time. So that self-assessment tool will be shared out at the end of June. to all clinical educators. And around about that same time as well, we will be releasing our new onboarding program for clinical educators. And we are going to be doing an intentional reach back to folks that have joined our organization or the position within the last 6 months, since they are still relatively new to the organization. We don't want to miss the opportunity to catch people up that may have not quite fully gotten their feet underneath them yet. So we're going to reach back to anyone who is newish to their role. And in our pilot period, we'll also be engaging with any new educators hired during that time. We are hoping that by late this year in the fall, we will be able to start opening up registration to our Educator Pathway program as well. And that'll be open to all clinical educators on the island. And we'll be looking at opportunities to prioritize engagement with certain key groups that are about to undergo some larger organizational change that could really benefit from that opportunity for upskilling. And this is a pilot, so we are going to be doing some evaluation towards the end of the year and into early next year to really look at what have we learned from this experience. How well did it align to the organizational needs? Did it have the impact that we were aiming for? And make some conscientious decisions about how we move forward with either modifying the program or continuing on it, or potentially even exploring something new. We think we have a good plan, and I always keep my mind open to the thought that we may not have it totally right. So a little bit more detail about the onboarding program that we'll be sharing out starting at the end of June. What this program is going to look like is it's going to be in a variety of formats with the goal of providing that supplemental support to the local team's orientation, but really hoping to help those folks situate themselves better in their new role and the learning environment of Island Health. We're a fairly complex organization with lots of systems and players involved. And so we have developed an e-learning course to help introduce educators to this whole new world of our education system. And it's structured around a human-centered design. And it's broken into 3 sections. You as an educator, what are the skills that you need in that role? Your work as an educator, what are some of the activities and ways in which you can anticipate being engaged in to support your team? And your work environment or the learning ecosystem in Island Health. Who are the players and the systems that you can anticipate needing to interact with during your time in the role? The best time estimate I have to offer right now in terms of time commitment for the onboarding program is about 4 hours in addition to what the local team is offering. So about 2 hours for the course. And we also have a follow-up virtual session we offer. So there's lots of words on this screen, but this is essentially trying to capture what that journey will be for a new educator from point of hire to completing onboarding activities with their local team, to connecting with the CLKS department and going through our supplemental onboarding program. And then ultimately, we're hoping that at the end of their time with our onboarding program, they've put together a personal learning plan that identifies their specific goals and objectives that they have in the coming months as they continue to situate themselves in the role. And I'm hoping that this also helps provide a really great opportunity for educators and their leaders to connect and ensure that those goals are well aligned with the overall team needs. And there's an opportunity to have some negotiation and discussion around balancing the ongoing development support needs that the educator has with the operational demands of the role. So I mentioned the Educator Pathway Program and that we're hoping to have it by late this year. The hoping part is that we are still working on a legal negotiation with our partners in Vancouver Coastal, since the program materials have copyright license on them. So there's a few additional hoops to get through there before we are able to get our hands on the materials and have the right level of permissions to adapt and modify them to ensure that they're well aligned to our island health needs. So it's work in progress that I hope will be coming later this year. But I'm very much looking forward to what that program has to offer in terms of scaffolded learning and progression of that skill development for the educator role. So the other big news that I am really looking forward to sharing out with the organization is our regional education program. Circling back to the HHRS initiatives and the big picture of what are we doing as an organization to optimize clinical education experiences, one of the recommendations was to look at our overall infrastructure and roles that we have in the organization to help provide more opportunities for standardization and regional support. So we have been working towards bringing in a new role to our CLKS department. And as of tomorrow, I am going to be putting up some postings for a brand new position for our organization, Regional Clinical Educators. So we've just had a new job description approved through HEABC, and we have funding from the ministry to hire 3 FTEs worth of regional educators with a nursing focus. And we're in active negotiations right now for determining the amount of funding for allied health background regional clinical educators. So as a physiotherapist, that makes my heart sing to know that we are also bringing in those important resources and supports for our organization. But you'll probably see the postings up very soon for that first batch of folks with a nursing background. I'm really excited to bring those folks into the team. So what are we hoping to do with this expanding team? We're hoping to really dig into some more of those recommendations from the report and provide a bit more connection and structure across our organization when it comes to regional clinical education initiatives. Provide some more implementation support in terms of rolling out the education. And they'll also be playing a role in helping to facilitate some of the learning opportunities through our Educator Pathway program and provide a mentorship and guidance relationship for our existing educator community. So really excited to be moving towards offering that type of support for our organization. And I'm not keeping an eye on the chat, but I saw something there about lots of emojis coming in response to that. So I hope that is welcome news for the organization. I know I'm super excited about the potential that that brings. So lots of things changing and evolving, but what's not changing? What's not changing is through this pilot period, our CLKS team is going to be continuing on with providing the many different learning events and services that we have been for the past couple of years, our learning bursts, our newsletters, our workshops. We're going to continue on with those until we've had that opportunity to do the fulsome evaluation of the program to decide what we keep, what shifts, what changes for the longer run. Also, what doesn't change with the rollout of the onboarding program is the responsibility of the operational leaders to support the onboarding needs of their new educators in terms of who is our local team, getting access and all that setup type done, and we're playing a supporting role to that. And also, how you get in touch with our team. That's staying the same. We still have our door open through Jira tickets and our team's chats and everything. So, what am I hoping you'll do now with all this new information? Uh, I hope that I have piqued some folks' interest in terms of this new opportunity with the regional educator role, that some folks out there might be interested in looking at the job description and considering if they might want to join our motley crew. Um, this is PowerPoint Live, so if you see that underlined spot on the screen that says regional educator job, if you click on that, it'll take you to the job description. So you're welcome to do that. And I also really hope that folks will be willing to engage in the self-assessment process. I think it'll be a marvelous opportunity for our existing educator community to really reflect on where they are personally at and think about what your individual learning goals might be for the year ahead. I know our non-contract folks are in our PRDP phase of setting our goals for the fiscal year ahead, so it lines up nicely with that too. And I'm also very keen to have feedback as we move through this pilot in the coming months. There will be built-in opportunities through the onboarding course and our engagement sessions for the participants to provide feedback, but we'll also be looking to engage with some leadership folks for a focus group towards the end of the pilot to hear your perspective from your leadership role about the impact that this program had. Did you see that there was good, valuable return for the time invested? What opportunities might we have missed in those early onboarding phases? And as we move towards bringing in our educator pathway, there will be more opportunities to assess that too. Hey, whew, that was a lot of talking. I'm going to stop the recording now so that we can just open up the dialogue for some questions and see if I can find my stop button. Stop recording. There we go. And